Hey everybody, Gary here with Guitar Tricks, and in this video I want to share with you some tips on how to get started with soloing using arpeggios. So check this out. I'm going to take a solo over a Guitar Tricks backing track. I'll share with you the chord progression, I'll put it on the screen, and you're going to see me solo using the notes of each triad primarily, but I'm going to add some embellishments using surrounding pentatonic scales and the notes of the key, and then I'm going to guide you on how you could get started with this. So check it out. So to get started with this, obviously you need to know the chord progression really well, or else how are you going to use the arpeggios of the chords? So that's the first step, and then you want to be able to play any chord in any position so that you could stay in any one position and see the chords as they go by. So we're going to go over seeing these chords and arpeggios in a few different positions and gradually working our way between them, and I'm going to give you some challenges so that you could do it with me as we go along. Before we get into it, please go ahead and click subscribe so that you get all of the latest and greatest content from Guitar Tricks. And if you want to be notified of any new lesson, be sure to tap the bell and let us know in the comments what you'd like to see in future lessons. That's where we're always looking for ideas. Also, we put together some related lessons on the website, so go to guitartricks.com/arpeggio soloing for related lessons. And while you're on the website, you could check out sequential courses on guitar fundamentals, rock, country, blues, a library of high-quality song lessons with multiple videos per song, downloadable tabs, backing tracks, a guitar toolbox, and so much more. All right, let's get into it. So first, let's learn the chord progression. So I want to be somewhere in the middle of the neck to start my solo. So the first chord is B. We're in the key of B. So what I'm seeing here is this B major bar chord. So in this chord, we have a root, a fifth, a root, a third, a fifth, and a root, and then there's another third over here. So we could go 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 1, right? But I'm not doing the lower strings. It's a solo, so I'm pretty much sticking with the higher strings. So really, I'm just looking at 1, 3, 5, 1. Right, so there's my first chord. Now the second chord is an E major, the 4 chord. So it helps to know both the names of the chords and what they are as a number, because what's true in one key is true in any key. So I know this is a 1 to 4 motion. In this case, it's B, E, B. So E is the 4 chord of B, B, C, D, E. But even if I was, let's say, in the key of G and I wanted to go, same thing, it's the same motion. So knowing the chord numbers is going to help as well. And the full chord shape of that E, like that, right? So we have 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5. Right, so I'm aware of the full arpeggio, but again, I'm really just making use of, right? Then the third chord is going to be the 5 chord, which is going to be F sharp. Now this little triad comes out of this full C shape in the caged, right? This was the E shape, this was the A shape, and this is the C shape right here. But I'm just using the top 4 strings, right? Full arpeggio would be 5, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5. So it's good to know all the notes in the position, but again, just the top 4 strings. And now I have in position the B, E and the F sharp right there. Or if I think top 3 strings, awesome. Okay. Then the only other chord we're going to have is a G sharp minor, which is the 6th chord. So where is the nearest one of those? Right here in the D minor shape. So in position, 1 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord, 6 chord. Those are all the chords in my progression. So now as long as I know the chord progression, I can solo on each chord using those notes, right? Let's just, as an example, I'm going to press play on the backing track and I'm going to use strictly top 4 strings arpeggio notes. Now, it's going to sound a little hokey because we don't just want to use arpeggio notes. We want to connect them with other notes. But just to get started, let's limit ourselves to the chord tones. Check it out. Easy enough, right? You got to know the chord progression and you have to see the little arpeggios and the little chords. Try to limit it to string groups, 3 or 4 strings, right? And start with those upper triads if you're trying to mix arpeggio and soloing. Otherwise, you're going to be more like a bass player, right? Bass players would go. Right? But we're playing the lead role. So one thing you can do before putting on the full speed backing track is just play the chord progression and play chord, then riff, just with the arpeggios. On the downbeat of the first hit of each chord, play the chord, then over the other beats, play an arpeggio riff. So watch this. I'm going to go through the whole chord progression. I'm going to play the chord when it's introduced, then a riff, but I'm keeping time. That's really important, to keep time. 1, 2, 3, 4, B, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, E, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, B, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, F sharp, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, B, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, F sharp, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, G sharp minor, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, E, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, B. And then we're done, right? So you don't have to be able to count and do that at the same time. I'm just so used to teaching that I've learned to do that really well. But you do want to maybe tap your foot or just keep the internal clock. One of the big skills is being aware of the beat and the rhythm on top, maintaining that independence. So you could try keeping a beat and just humming a rhythm, you know. Bum, ba, da, 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 da. Bum, ba, da, 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 dum. Bum, ba, dum, da, dee, 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 doo, dum, dum. Right? Okay, so there's one position. Let's look at another position. So maybe let's look at this B right here. So that comes out of B in the C shape. Then I'm going to think, okay, where is my closest E major? Right here. Right? And that's out of this shape. Just a basic E shape bar chord. Right? So I've got this to this. And then where is my nearest F sharp? Right there. That's out of the G shape. And then where is my nearest G sharp minor? Right here in the A shape, and top 3 or 4 strings. So we end up having B like this. Then we have E like this. Then we have F sharp like this. And then we have G sharp minor like that. So now I'm going to do the same thing up there. Cool, right? And now you saw me, I did things like, you know, because if you see the full arpeggio, let's say of the B, it's 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 1. So I liked going up to that 1 up top. So just knowing the triad is great, but if you could see the full arpeggio, it gives you more options. So what did I do to make it sound a little more musical? So I liked adding little pentatonic embellishments. And this is where the cage system becomes really useful. So for instance, on this B, there's the B major pentatonic scale in this position, the E position, or the E shape, and that looks like this. So I did things like, right? So that was 1, 3, 5, 5. And then I hammered from the 5 to the 6. That's an embellishment note. This little box, it really just looks like a house, is part of that. I also went, and that's basically grabbing the 5th and the 2nd and hammering onto the 3rd. So I could do something like, and then I go to that chord and I went. So here, this A shape of an E major chord, I've got this pentatonic. So I can go something like, right? I'm just playing off the pentatonic, and the pentatonic scale of each chord is basically the triad plus 2 extra notes. So no matter what, if you play the pentatonic off the chord, you're playing chord tones. Now you might be wondering, am I changing keys? I'm not changing keys. We're in the key of B major, and any chord in B major and any pentatonic scale of that chord is still within the home key. So in other words, you could take all 6 major and minor chords in any key, and you have 3 different pentatonic scales. You could call each one either a major version or a minor version, but of those 3 different pentatonic scales, all those notes are in the home key. So I'm not changing any keys or anything like that. I'm just conceptualizing playing off the chord versus playing within the scale of the key. It's just a different conceptual thing, but the notes are the same. There's many roads to the same place. Okay, then if we look at the 3rd chord, this is the C shape, F sharp major in the C shape, and that is this pentatonic scale. So I could do things like, or, and then, you know, I could back down into another pentatonic pattern. So I like to go something like that. And then the G sharp minor, that's the relative minor chord of B major. So that's the same pentatonic scale as the B major. So, and I could add bends, right? I could bend within that pentatonic scale. Okay, then when we went up here, again, now that is B major in the C shape, and I could do the same things I did down there. Right, so I mainly am playing off the triad. But I'm adding those little pentatonic embellishments. Then we went to the E in the E shape. We already talked about that pentatonic scale. So I did something like, then we went to the F sharp. Now this is the G shape, or the classic pattern 1 of the pentatonic. And I did a kind of slid from pattern 1 to pattern 2. And I did something like, you know, all that pentatonic stuff. But it's going to sound more like you're playing off the chord because you're playing the pentatonic of the chord plus the arpeggio notes. And then last but not least, that is our G sharp minor, and that's this pentatonic. That would be either the C shape or the A minor shape, you could think of it. Right, it looks like an A minor. Cool. So step 1, really know the chord progression really well. Be able to play it in any position without moving your hand. Step 2, go through the chord progression playing little riffs from the arpeggios. Step 3, embellish your arpeggios with the surrounding pentatonic notes. So seeing the pentatonic scale that goes with each chord shape and making use of that. Now do the same thing, but add one pentatonic note. Play the chord when it's introduced, then a riff. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's it. Do that in every position and you're on your way. All right, everybody. I hope this gave you some good tips on how to start using arpeggios in your solo. One warning that I would give you is don't let theory lead you. In other words, use your ear. See if you could allow your ear to get like 75% of the leadership role, and then a little bit of that theory to be that other 25%. The theory is feeding the ear and not the other way around. Remember, there's no right or wrong notes. There's only what sounds good to you and what we all generally agree sounds good. Sometimes those things are totally different. Generally, they're more or less the same. All right, everybody, happy playing. If you want to learn more about playing guitar, head over to guitartricks.com. There's a library of high-quality song lessons, step-by-step courses on rock, country, blues, guitar fundamentals, a guitar toolbox, and so much more. Happy playing, and I'll see you in the next lesson.